Hi everyone, thank you for joining us again after lunch. It is my great pleasure to introduce a dear friend, a big wave surfer, a blue health pioneer, and someone who's been on the surf therapy journey with us since the very beginning. So I'd like to introduce Easkey Britton and the rest of her INCLUSEA team that are going to talk about the valuable work they're doing.
It's so strange to be virtual and in an in-person room. So I'm sorry I can't be there in person. Thanks everyone for joining. It's a real pleasure and honor to be here to present some of the work from the INCLUSEA project, which we can't wait to share with you and which many of you have maybe already contributed to. I'm here with my colleagues on the project, Ronaldo Gabriel and Joao Zamith, who I'll let you guys introduce yourselves to. The idea is we'll give a short introduction and overview and hear what INCLUSEA is all about from Ronaldo. I will share some of our very emerging preliminary findings from the research we've just kind of started to do. So this is the first time we've kind of ever presented any of our data, and it's just getting started. And then you'll hear from Joao about his amazing work with Surf Club de Viana in Portugal, why adapted surfing matters, and the importance of a research project like INCLUSEA for the work that we all do. Okay, I'd love to pass over to Ronaldo, if you'd like to introduce yourself and tell us a bit more about INCLUSEA.
Okay, thank you so much, Easkey. And first of all, hi everyone, and thank you so much to Chris and ISTO for this opportunity to share our work. It is in the beginning, and we are very glad and very grateful for this opportunity too. So I will do a small introduction of myself. I am, first of all, I am a surfer. I am a father, an husband, and in the rest of the time, I am a sports scientist too. I am a sports scientist deeply engaged in the study of the benefits that we can achieve when we interact with the nature, taking advantage of the mediating role of the outdoor sports, especially the surfing ones. By now it's all about me, and I could talk with you all later on after the João Zamith introduction.
Okay, now switch off the. So, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Joao Zamith. I'm from Viana do Castelo, Portugal. I would like to, first of all, thank you, ISTO and the Wave Project, for the invitation. It's the first time I'm participating in ISTO events. And also, a special thanks to Easkey and Ronaldo for the excellent presentation they have prepared. And it's a great honor. It's a great honor to be part of being selected as a partner for the INCLUSEA projects. And of course, I would like to thank you, Europe, and the Erasmus Plus project for the founding our projects. So I'm a surfer for more than 30 years. I'm kind of pioneer of surfing in the north of Portugal. I'm a surf coach as well, and I'm the chairman of the Surf Club de Viana, and also the manager of the High Performance Center, the Surfing High Performance Center of Viana. And as well, I have a role paper in the European Network of Outdoor Sports. It's a European network, and it's more than surfing. So just a little bit about the club. The club is one of the oldest surf clubs in Portugal. It was founded in '88, and we have the first surf school in Portugal. And what we have here in Viana, and which is I think unique in Europe at least, it's the surfing. It's in the curriculum of the public schools. So surfing in my city is compulsory to do. All the kids from the public schools, it's compulsory to go surfing. In my times, I have to skip school to do surfing, but these times it changed dramatically for good. So it's for the moment all I have to say, and thank you very much for the invitation.
Thanks so much, Joao. And Ronaldo, let's kick it off and tell everyone a bit more about INCLUSEA and what we hope to achieve over the next 2.5 years, or 2 years left, maybe.
Okay, Easkey, thank you so much. So the INCLUSEA, I have to change the slides. Okay, the INCLUSEA, it's a European project. It's a European project supported by a consortium. And the big aim of the project is to develop an innovative methodology focused on the instruction concerning to adapted surfing. We are just focused right now only in the instruction concerning to adapted surf, but not only, or not all the adapted surf, especially the adapted surf concerning to sensorial and physical disabilities. We have, oh, sorry, I'm not used with this way to control. Okay, next one. Oh, fantastic. You can see it's amazing. High tech in INCLUSEA once again. So our partnership is based on the seven partners, two from Spain, the Regional Society for Culture, Education and Sports from the Governo of Cantabria, and the City Council of Ribamontan Almar, all from Cantabria. And we have from Ireland, Liquid Therapy, very well known. We have from Portugal, Surf Club Viana, where João Zamith is the chairman. We have from France, Andy Surf, a reference to adapted surf in France. And we have from Germany, the German Surfing Federation. We have also as partner the university where I am a faculty member. Oops, I forget. The main objective of our project is to promote more social inclusion. Inclusion is a key word in our project. The other objectives is improve the accessibility to the beach in the coastal zone in order to enjoy all you can enjoy when you go surfing and when you go play with the beach and the oceans also. Of course, because we are talking about instruction, we have to provide the professional. We have to provide the professional with the guidance and some kind of knowledge that can use when they work in the front line of the people with the surfer with disability, sensorial and physical ones. We want also to promote health and well-being through this kind of practices, namely the practices associated to surfing. And of course, we would like to also contribute to the increase of evidence about the benefits that you can achieve when you use the surfing and associated activities concerning to the benefits to the health and well-being. Oh my God. Okay. To achieve those objectives, we have to do three actions. The first one is a kind of pre-capitalization analysis. We have to know what is known from the scientific and technological point of view about the benefits of surfing to the inclusion and to the equality of opportunities for the people that take advantage for these activities. And the other sub actions concerning to the pre-capitalization analysis is to find the good practices that are already on the terrain and give very good results that could be and must be spread all over the world, and as an example to be followed for all of us and to be available for all the community that work with adapted surf. We have already been working on the search of evidence concerning the benefits. We are doing right now a scoping review. This scoping review, it is almost in the hand. We are in the step 5, as you can see. We are right now interpreting the findings, and we hope to can show that the results so soon as possible in the other opportunities. Okay. Looking for the good practice, we did several interviews of several. We have interviewed several international institutions and initiatives that are working with disabled people to identify some kinds of project that they use and some kind of practice that they use during their daily activities, and we are trying to find what are the best ones that you can use and that we can disseminate all over the world, and with the support of our project in different initiatives that we will do in the near future based on the help based on this project. Of course, Whiskey, we're gonna talk much better than me about this selection and analysis of good practice later on. It will be, of course, because the project is going on preliminary results, but I guess some of ones are already very interesting to talk and to discuss a little bit. Okay, I lose once again the control. Okay. After the action one, we have to work on the framework for the surfing programs. We have to find what kind of foundation we have to consider in the programs, and after indicated all the foundation that we have to consider, we have to start to design the final program of teaching and training. Considering the foundation of the programs, we cannot forget the relationship between the blue space and well-being promotion. There is a lot of evidence about this kind of relationship, especially the ones concerning the three main mechanisms that can help us to better understand why blue space and health and well-being are very connected. We have to consider also the science, sports science, medical science, and social science associated to adapted surfing, and we have to put that on the foundation of our program. Finally, we have to suggest some kind of assessment of the results of our programs, and assessment also for the evolution of each surfer that is included in our program. Oops, sorry. Considering the design of the final program of teaching and training, we will consider two sections, the one considering related to the teaching methods, and the other one considering or related to the training recommendation. When you talk about the training recommendation, we don't just talk about competition. We are talking about training considering all the capacity that we need to improve in order to the surfer can enjoy and can be able to be independent when they are on the water. Finally, and after the conclusion of the others two actions, we have to implement our program and to see what is working well and what is not working so well. For that, we have to do and to apply the pilot initiative, and we have to measure the results, to discuss with the partners and all the community that are connected with us, and take the final conclusions that conclusion must be published and must be discussed later on when we have all the results available for. So thank you so much and welcome aboard of the INCLUSEA. Everybody are welcome, and I would like to say it again because when we did all the interviews, we just interviewed, I guess Easkey can better explain, but I guess we just interviewed 15, not 50, 15 foundation. 15 organizations. We would like to interview much more, and we expect to interview much more. So welcome aboard, and we ask you all to collaborate with us and to help us to find this complementary way to promote our amazing work. Thank you so much.
Thanks so much, Ronaldo. That was a lot of ground to cover in a short space of time. Amazing. And I hope you all enjoyed what you saw. There were images primarily from Surf Club de Viana, who we'll hear a little bit about at the end. Here at the end, the last slide, you saw Marta, one of their amazing champion surfers, who Joao will speak to a bit more, an adapted surfing champion and pioneer in the sport herself. So really, INCLUSEA is about how might we create a more inclusive and accessible ocean, as you've heard from Ronaldo. And what I wanted to just share really briefly is a snapshot of some of the initial findings at this very early stage that we're at, kind of about 8 to 10 months into a 2.5-year project. So we've been working on trying to identify what the state of the art is. So what do we know when it comes to adapted surfing? And that forms part of the scoping review, which you've heard about. So after screening thousands of journal articles, peer-reviewed papers, we've ended up with 15 focused on adapted surfing. So we're currently interpreting the data from that to kind of get a picture of what we can learn from what already exists, but also what are some of the gaps. And then considering best practices, we really wanted to know who's doing what, where, how, what might be some of the barriers and enablers when it comes to accessibility and inclusion in surfing in the sea. And we kicked that off with a survey that's still open, and you can access it on the INCLUSEA website, which is inclusea.eu. So we really invite more people to join and participate that if you are doing any programs related to adapted surfing. Currently, we have 44 responses that we've been analyzing as well. So all of this is still, we're in that stage of piecing it all together. But we had, that covers 16 countries, really shows a huge growth in adapted surfing programs in the last decade in particular, as well as having identified some early pioneers. So this has also been really ongoing since the late 80s. What we also saw is that there's just this real mix of different types of interventions, from one day to year round. There's a certain seasonality, although a commitment in most organizations to want to deliver this year round to create that sustainability. The primary aims of most adapted surf organizations is, unsurprisingly, to create greater inclusion and social connection. That's kind of the focus of a lot of these programs, followed by the promotion of mental health. And then kind of the third kind of key aim is around physical rehabilitation, which, so out of 19 out of the 44 organizations would have said that was one of their primary aims. But there was also this distinction made between physical rehabilitation and play and fun, and how surfing can facilitate that kind of rehabilitation through play and fun. Whereas a lot of, I suppose, other rehab programs can be quite medicalized and controlled and feel quite challenging or difficult for participants. So we wanted to deep dive a little bit more into some of the highlights and blind spots that the survey data showed us. So it was kind of, think of the survey as this sort of initial kind of snapshot of what's going on. And that's where we carried out those 14 to 15 interviews so far, still ongoing. And I just wanted to share what's coming out from those discussions with, I think, some of you who are also perhaps in the room. So thank you so much for this contribution already. INCLUSEA is also, in its research approach, highly participatory. And we really want to, it's very practitioner-led and want to include the perspectives of both practitioners and participants. So we're really learning from that collective wisdom of all of you. What is interesting in context of surf therapy is that a lot of the three main types of adapted surf programs, recreational, surf therapy, and then training for competition or parasurfing. And so each of these have different kind of outcomes, as you'd expect, and also have maybe different requirements and inputs. But primarily surfing is used as a recreational activity to create social connection in order to create this greater inclusion, not only in the sea and surf, but also within communities and society. So there's that spillover effect that's really important. How do we do that? We asked people what were the most important factors to promote long-term sustainability. Coming out on top is a combination of recognizing the need for more standardized training for instructors, identifying what are some of those effective methodologies that could be shared, rather than a more currently very piecemeal approach. And linked to that is the importance of sharing experiences and knowledge with other organizations. So I think, I mean, there's real fertile ground for that, because we all share such a love and passion for surfing that brings us together. And yet we bring maybe very diverse expertise and perspectives, especially cross-culturally. So how do we create that kind of knowledge exchange platform in this space? Other really important factors when it comes to long-term sustainability, I mean, these probably apply across the board with surf therapy programs, is sustainable funding mechanisms and consistency of provision. So right now, most organizations are dependent on very short-term funding mechanisms year on year. Then the accessibility of the services, so needing to collaborate more with local government around infrastructure and accessible beaches and surf spots. And then crucially, practices around how do we embed these programs and see them embedded within a wider ecosystem of support. So in order to achieve a lot of the desired outcomes, there's this need for greater collaboration with other professionals, be that clinicians, medical practitioners, and researchers. And crucially, a lot of the programs emphasize the importance of social mixing. So the mixing of everyone together, different abilities, families, friends, the community, as well as the adapted surfers. We looked at other things like equipment. We looked also at how to capture the impact and measurement tools. I'm not sure if I have time to talk about that, but I could certainly bring that up in the Q&A at the end. But I just wanted to touch upon another important area we looked at was how do existing organizations overcome the social barriers to participation? And in the context of adapted surfing, there's still being, of course, a lot of stigma and perceptions around what it means to be a surfer in the world today. So how do we create a more inclusive environment through what was identified was the importance of sharing these positive experiences. And one quote that I loved said, not being seen as a group of people with disabilities, but a group of people who are sharing the same passion. And again, the importance of that passion as a way to bring people together through shared values that then creates a sense of belonging. And this then feeds into, again, that needing to involve everyone together, that having that sort of social mixing, and also the importance of that participation and inclusion and integration of adapted surfers, not just as participants, but also as coaches and staff and being part of the very fabric of surfing and surf culture. And then the third kind of most important enabling factor, as it were, is visibility. And demystifying disability through outreach, communication, role models like surfers like Marta, and finding this balance between inclusion and also the important element that surfing brings is this sense of independence, which I think is key when we think about why surfing. And it also, through that, then really allowing us to find our tribe. How am I for time? There's we've only started and there's such a richness of knowledge and data. And so one last thing I will touch upon is around gender distribution. So these are, again, very preliminary findings, but it does seem to be that there's a trend towards adapted surf programs having above average female participation, which is perhaps not surprising since the focus is on inclusion. And I think that's key as well when it comes to thinking about best practices, is that intersectionality. So yes, people it may be living with a disability, but we're all so different. And that's layered upon our gender, our culture, where we're from, who we are, is really multifaceted. although there's still, the majority of female participants will be less than 50% in programs. What is interesting, that the majority have 50% or more female coaches, and volunteers in these programs tend to be more women than men. Comparing this then with the literature, we're starting to see that perhaps the research needs to catch up with what's happening in practice. There's a real lack of gender aggregated data. So anyone thinking of capturing impact or carrying out a study, please consider capturing the gender, because we'd love to understand more about that. And that's an emerging trend across surf therapy as well. But in the most studies that we have looked at so far, the majority would be male participants. And I mean, to kind of conclude on that, there's so much more. We also looked at future visions. What does inclusion mean? Funding, the training needs, both the opportunities and barriers around evaluating impact. So evaluating impact is a huge gap still. Only 3 to 4 organizations out of everyone we surveyed and interviewed carry out some form of standardized or validated tool to measure impact. So mostly it's still anecdotal and observational. And main reasons are that lack of access to people with professional expertise to help support the design and delivery of some of those impact measures, which again, I think is something we're grappling with across surfing and surf therapy. And then I'm interested in things of like what's missing. And what didn't really come up yet is a bit more of a conversation around how to create safe spaces, which I know is something Jamie Marshall is quite passionate about too. But we're seeing topics around consent, safe spaces, touch to be a very big issue in mainstream surfing. And in the adapted surf context, it's not yet discussed. So is that a potential blind spot? Also around language, a real diversity of terms and complexity of terms used that are understood in different ways. So how do we create a more inclusive language? And ultimately, what I'm finding is how do we move away from this world where it's very binary, a dualistic view of who we are and what we do, this kind of separation, and how do we create that greater inclusion? So yeah, that's a food for thought. I'm going to leave it there. I have piles more notes. So watch this space. Do come on board, and if you want to know more, call to action would be to go to our website, check out the survey if you haven't already. Follow us on @INCLUSEA on Instagram, and please do, and check on the website where we'll be sharing the research as we publish it. And now I'd love to just hand over for the final part of the session to Joao to understand more about the why, the importance of adapted surfing and the impact and importance of being part of a project like INCLUSEA, and how that might be relevant for others here in the room today. Thank you.
Okay, a big applause to our speaker. Thank you very much. I know there is a lot of information, and most of the people always ask, as we are experiencing in this kind of projects, what are the deliverables of these projects? But I think Ronaldo and you make it very clear, and it's also very important, because sometimes these projects goes very theoretically and we don't see the results properly. So I will try to speak a little bit about our adventure on adaptive surfing. We say adventure because we are a surf coach, and we somehow we are dealing with things that are more than surfing or surf coaching. So that's why we call adventure, and we really like it. We really like it to, and like the pioneers. We started this adventure in '98. We were asked to organize activity for blind surfers, and it was 23 years ago. So for us, it was okay. Why not? Let's try it. Let's try it and see. And after that, for 2 decades, I would say, we have a lot of local and national social institutions. They ask us to organize like surfing experience for handicapped people. So we here for I would say like 20 years, we learn from all kind of disabilities, mental, sensorial, and also physical. So we got quite a lot of experience on that times. But there is some like specific dates that I think they change our attitude towards the adaptive surfing. One was in 2015 when we Viana, the city which I belong, joined the World Surf Cities Network. We entered the network the year before in 2014. So we decided to organize the edition of 2015. On that time, it was not expected, but the city of Santos, it's like where the surf born in Brazil. It's like the birth of the surfing in Brazil. So, and we did know, and they brought us 2 surfboards, one for a blind surfer and the other for a paraplegic disabled people. And they also come with a training course. So, and the training course was really practical. So what they did, they put us in the position of a blind, like they put something in our eyes, and so we see at the other side of the people. So we become disabled for that for a few moments. But we have to do it all the way. We have to do it from where the high performance center is until the beach. So, and that is already a strange feeling. If you have a chance to do it, you can try it. Put I don't know the name in English, but put something in your eyes that you don't see, and try to walk from the car parking to the surf spot. It's already a great experience. And after, try to take some waves without seeing nothing, which also it's a really good experience. So, and that make us think about the situation, and start in the after this experience and really experience, and we put all the coaches we have in the club doing this training course. The result was fantastic, and and in 2017 we participated. We were invited to participate in another European project. I would say the first European project about disabled people. The name was Surf Camps for Impairment People, and what it was financed by Europe, the European Commission, through the Erasmus Plus projects. And there were 3 partners: us from Portugal, Plane Train from Spain, and also Happy Wheels from Italy. So the general idea was organize 3 surf camps with disabled people. And the result of it, because Plane Train is already a well-known association in Spain, we learn a lot from them. And that we start the network, I would say, like the European network about adaptive things. Also, they organize international seminar that were they brought like people from the IPC, the International Paralympic Committee, people from International Surfing Association. So it was very interesting. So, and we can present also what we are doing, like we are doing today here. So each partner presents, and the invitees present what the work they are doing at the field. So it was really interesting. And this project in 2017, that was the first time. Marta is our blind surfer. She tried the first time surfing in this occasion. So we have a friend of a friend that say, okay, there is a blind girl, like she would like to try surfing. So, and that was the real opportunity to Marta to stand up on a surfboard. So to see how short it is, the success of Marta. So in 2018, Marta became 3rd in the world IZA World Adaptive Championship. But she was 3rd because the first and the second, they were low. I don't know how to say it, but one is like Marta, she don't see nothing, but there are like low vision. I think it's the category. So she compete with the low vision competitors, which is totally different. So one thing is you can see something, and the other thing is you can see nothing. Anyway, she became 3rd and bronze medal in that event, which is for 1 year of surfing. It was a great achievement. So in 2019, we decided in Viana with the City Council and also with the European Surfing Federation and Portuguese Surfing Federation to organize the first Euro adaptive competition. So the particular of this event, it was the first time in the world, like EPC members, I say doctors, they did official classification of athletes. And that's something it is very important in terms of sports to have like this kind of people classifying the athletes. So it was interesting. It was very a great achievement also, and also a learning process for all of us, because we work with the Paralympic standards, and the event was a great success. And Marta became the European champion as well. So it's part of the success of the event as well. So since that, in 2020, we start a regular program for parasurfing. So we have at the moment the club as a parasurfing team. So they train every 2 days, so in a week. So it's very intense, the activity they are doing. And also we have 2 sections, 2 surfing sessions for mental diseases people. So it's something we have regular all year round. So it's something very important for us and also for the community. More recently, we start this project, and this project, as it was said before, it is very interesting because it's a mix, a partners mix. We have regional and local authorities, we have national federations, we have grassroots clubs like the Club Viana and also Liquid Therapy from Ireland. We have a university, so we have a really strong partnership. So we can see it from different point of views, and also I think the great deliverable of this project, and it's not only for the partners, it's for those who are interested to develop adaptive or parasurfing. We are going to create a common methodology for surf coach and therapists based on scientific evidence, and also taking account the field experience and the best practice so far. So that's why it's very important. If you don't participate in our questionnaire, do it now, because it's still open, and our objective is get all the best practice and also the best scientific evidence we have contact with. So and to finalize my presentation, I would ask, what is the future legacy we want for this project? Of course, we want the consolidate and enlarge the European network for adaptive and parasurfing. We want to promote and develop parasurfing as a sport. This is also important. And also, I would say the ultimate challenge is taking the parasurfing into the Paralympics in Los Angeles 2028. So that's, I think, the three main objectives, and we would like to work with the partners and also with everybody who are interested on that. So thanks a lot.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you so much, Joao. Just really appreciate that insight and that perspective from the impact on the ground through lived experience and stories, and just the incredible pioneering work you've been doing at Club Viana for so long. And that this is really, I suppose, something like INCLUSEA is really reflective of a lot of the commitment and dedication for decades in this area. And now it's hopefully getting more of the recognition it deserves. And how do we engage and create this sort of collective when it comes to creating a more inclusive and accessible ocean for all? So thank you, everyone. That's just a snapshot and insight into INCLUSEA, but really its success depends on the inclusion and participation and input of everyone. So it's when we comes to understanding best practices, it's understanding what's probably already happening on the ground and how do we connect those dots. So please do stay connected. That's it for now. I think we've got some time for a few questions.
Thank you very much, everyone. That's I think we all really enjoyed it. There's some questions on the app, but I note, Easkey, you've been busy answering them already. But I think it'd be cool for everyone who's engaged. Maybe we can just ask that one again. So the summary of the question was, firstly, like, will some of these responses be made available so we can sort of see where people are doing good work, what organizations are out there doing work with adaptive surfing? And I thought there was a really interesting second pass around that, around what of that work is being done with older populations, like elderly populations.
Yeah, great question, Sophia. Thank you so much. And yes, I mean, part of the outcome of INCLUSEA will also be that provide that kind of list and mapping of who's doing what where. So the adapted surf programs that we've been engaging with, and to make that available. So because this work is still ongoing, that will probably be next year, and it will certainly be listed on the website. Similarly, for all of the research we've been gathering, so a full kind of sort of reference or bibliography of those studies we mentioned that have been included in the scoping review will also be available for people to do their own deep dive into. And then the other part of the question was, again, speaking to that intersectionality component. A big gap in a lot of this research is age, and age distribution, in particular elderly people, especially when it comes to more active sports like surfing. And there are a few organizations that have with surfing no age limit, so participants who are over 50, over 65, some much older, but there's no so far no program specifically looking at that age group, and certainly no studies that have really unpacked that to date when it comes to adapted surfing.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Have we got any questions in the room? Well, I've got a question. I'm really interested. I think it's really cool what you're doing as a collaborative approach towards building best practice guidelines and understanding what the effective work that's going on already, so we can all learn from it. As we build guidelines like that around adaptive surfing or surf therapy, one of the strengths of what we're doing is we're not in an office building, in a clinic under fluorescent light bulbs. Is there a danger that we almost over-medicalize the ocean and those spaces? And how do we tread that balance between best practice and evidence-based processes and not overtly medicalizing the wonderful wild spaces we have?
Brilliant question. I'm happy to dive in, but Ronaldo, I see you nodding too. Do you want to jump in first?
Okay. Thank you, Jimmy, for the question. It's a very important one. It's a crucial question, in my humble opinion, to the development of the surf therapy, for instance. Easkey have several testimonials from his experiences that young boys and young girls and men and women that don't go at the first time to the practice because they hear about therapy, and sometimes they associate therapy to medicalizations. They feel they have afraid to be once again in the hospital, once again in the therapy process, and so on. When you talk about fun, when they talk about be free, when they talk about be with the other ones, the people comes to us to practice surfing, and that practice supports the other therapies in the better and deeper way. That's our experience. I guess in the near future, and we know that there is several institutions and organizations that are already work in the basis of fun, the basis of recreation, the basis of happiness and well-being, and in the balance between the medicalization, because the people when have some kind of disability obviously have to be followed by clinicians and some kind of therapeutic cares at the same time, of course. But the fun, to be free, to be independent, I guess, is the big words that we have to stay with us when we are working with the people with disabilities. I don't know if you have to say something about Easkey and Joao.
Brilliantly answered. I think it speaks to like the why surfing question, which we're probably still trying to unpack, and then the why water part. I think the other answer I would bring to add to what Ronaldo has put so brilliantly is the you're getting, I suppose, that like how not to commodify the ocean and just be all about what it can give us. But I think crucially in a lot of these experiences and testimonials in particular is that it's almost the opposite. It's like it enhances the connection to the ocean. And how do we sort of amplify and draw that out? Like that is where the passion comes from. That is what brings down the barriers. When we're in the water and feel that sense of freedom, fun, and play, we tend to become more open and expressive. But that's facilitated through this ocean connection. So I definitely see that the ocean and our relationship with it remains at the core.
Perfect. Thank you so much. I think it's a great answer and gives us all a lot to think about. Just gonna, I think there's nothing else on the Hoover. Are there any further questions in the room? Okay. Well, I'm going to ask, what are your immediate next steps with the program? And maybe more interestingly, where do you see the program in like 10 years? The INCLUSEA project, where would you like to see it in the long term in 10 years?
Joao, do you want to jump in to kick that one off?
Yes, in somehow I think I answered that when I spoke before. Yeah, I think it's important. It's important. We are a sport club, so for us it's very important to develop the sport, and there is still a lot to do. And but what we can see, it's for the moment, for the instance, at the moment there is a German team, adaptive German team is doing a training course for 2 weeks in the high performance center we run. So as far as I can see, it's increasing a lot, the sports, and there are engaging more and more people. I mean, sports. I'm not talking about therapy, but sports. It's very important, and we have the example of Marta, and Marta also influence a lot other people that they have disabilities to do surfing, and so. And if you have a blind surfer, if you have a paraplegic doing surfing, why not? Why don't you surf? Even for the people without disables, it's very interesting to see the phenomenon. We also start like 3 months ago. We start a surfing program for elder people, and it's been a success so far because the people are due to COVID, they are not allowed to go to the gym doing at the gym and sport at the gym, and and the surfing is a really nice tool for not only be active and doing sports, but also for social inclusion, because the surfing is not only about sports. We know that, and we feel that. So we need to go to the sea and do surfing, but it's not only a matter of sports. It's more than that, for sure. And if it is good for us, which we don't have, apparently don't have disabilities or handicaps, even if it's good for us, for them it's even better, because they have the perception and the access to this kind of activities is very restricted. So the result of when they get out of the water, they are really relaxed and they don't need medication that much. They need it in their lives. So, and the other thing, it's we think like we are like the for these communities, we are like the reference and the example. It's the opposite, right? It's the opposite way. They are our inspiration to do it more and more. So
that was really great. And actually, can I just pick up on that access point? What advice would you give to those of us in the room when we maybe have to battle with authorities or whatever it may be around access to the ocean? I certainly know when I was running the Wave project in Scotland, I had a 4-year running battle with our local authority over access to our local beach. And what advice would you give to practitioners who have to engage with those conversations, which can often be quite challenging?
Yeah, I'd say, yeah, Joao has the most experience of having to do this when it comes to Club Viana.
Yeah, I can briefly try to answer. Yeah, the thing is, we have to engage people. We have to engage authorities on the process as well. So we cannot do the things against the institutions. Sometimes it's not easy to engage them, all of them at the same time. But the thing here with the little media, with the conversation, because some people are afraid to do activities. To be honest, we felt that when we started. Some institutions are afraid to do it because there are risks and they cannot control. So, but what we can see, and of course it's not easy. You have to battle every day, I would say. But when you have the results, when you see, like, even we develop the beach access for not only for the surfers, the adaptive surfers, but for the people who are with the wheelchairs. And this is a good thing for all. And even for elder people, some people, we are not talking about only people with disabilities. Elder people have a lot of difficulties to reach the beach. So we are doing things for these targets as well. So I think engaging, cooperation, communicate, I think are the keywords for that process.
Perfect, thank you. We've got time for one more question. Just updating my app, but if not, anyone in the room? No? Okay, well, thank you so much, team. That was a really great discussion and so many points to cover. We're all super excited to follow the progress of the INCLUSEA project, and I'm sure many of the people here will, after today's session, go and get on the website and add to your data. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I will just add one more thing, if it's possible, before I get shut down. When it comes to the future and future vision, it's something we're also been asking for input on too. But for me, it's like, could we do away with the word normal? This notion of normal and there ever being such a thing. And I really feel like when it comes to language, that just normal really fuels this sort of dualistic binary view of the world and creates this kind of othering. So yeah, a future where there's just no normal would be great. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Easkey. We were so excited to get your book. Everybody here got your book. We'll be also sending a couple of more people out. Easkey had a couple books come out this year, but thanks, everybody. Thank you so much. What an incredible panel. Woo! Hello. Don't all run away. No, we haven't got time, Joe, because we're going online. Yeah. Okay. This is a really, I'm really excited because I have quite an attachment to this project. In my interview with the Wave Project in 2013, I came up with this crazy idea and mentioned it to Joe. I said, hey, have you ever thought about running a beach school? And he said, no, maybe it's something we can talk about and work on. And the beach school has gone from strength to strength. So I'm super proud of it. I don't have much contact with it now. We have an amazing team of people working on beach school. And I'm excited to introduce Jason and Tariq, who are here to talk about surf therapy and education. Joe will also be joining this panel as well once Jason and Tariq have presented as well. So,
wow, good team. Hi, how you doing? Very well, thank you. Good. Wow, what a day it's been, eh?
So far, still going.
So we've just been at beach school this morning. got up at dawn, was at Damer Bay, missed it, got to Widmouth Bay, double overhead. Are we going to actually run beach school? We did. We're up at Summerleys today, so we've been there, had a great day, got here, looked out the window, and now breathe.
Yeah,
Amazing.
that looks calm by comparison.
Certainly does. Okay, so I've entitled the talk Surf Therapy and Education. So my name's Jason Wood, I'm the beach school teacher, and this is?
I'm Tariq. I'm the freelance surf instructor in ISO level 2, and I've a few years working with the Wave project on various projects.
And what's been fun, I started at ISTO, and I started with Tariq, is that we come from different perspectives. So my career has been in education and senior leadership in education, and then I've come to surf therapy, whereas Tariq has always been...
Mine's interesting. I come from a family of academics and teachers, but I'm a surfer by passion, and that is what I teach with that passion. So it's quite funny. I've followed the family trait, but in a completely different roundabout way.
Yeah, and you've also been working with the Wave project for much longer than me.
I've done 5 or 6 years. When beach school was in inception with Svenja, I was on the pilots. I've done surf therapies, well-being, surf clubs. So I've seen it cross-section from all the different angles that we have been running various sessions with the Wave project. So I've quite a good cross-section, a really good sort of perspective of seeing how and what comes out as being sort of best methods of delivery. So yeah, it's been a good journey so far.
And so we bring different perspectives, and our dialogue between us sort of has inspired this talk, and we hope to share with you what we've learnt, and to look at how surf therapy can support education, but perhaps also how an educational perspective can support surf therapy. Okay, so if you think about just education for a minute, okay, what is education? It's, in one sense, it's the search for meaning. It's a search for meaning in ourselves. Education is setting an intent and a curriculum and giving us a set of knowledge and skills and values to help us approach the world around us. But keep it in a nutshell, it's a search for meaning. So when you look at a picture like this, or even better just out of the window right now, and you look at the waves, what do you see? Do you just see waves? Do you see an anticipation of going surfing later or earlier or tomorrow when it's actually a handleable size? What do you see? Do you see joy? Do you see bliss? Do you see perfection in the waves? What do you see? So education as surfers gives us an insight into the world around us. So if we look again, what I see is the swell that's arrived today has traveled across the ocean 4 or 5 days, huge amounts of energy created under an ex-hurricane. That energy has passed from water molecule to water molecule, and the swell has propagated, lined up, and then come to our coastline. So I see energy there. I see all sorts when I look at the waves. When we look at our boards that we ride today and we go back in time and how much they've changed, we can't ride today without the energy of all the surfers and the evolution of our industry and the great practitioners in surfing and the surfboard designers. We can't surf without their energy from the past. So waves are energy. They come from the past to where we are. We ride boards which come from people's ideas and experiences from the past. They're passed on. It's the same thing. We pass on energy. So education can give us a meaning in what we do. So it's where we were. We didn't surf it. But absolutely awesome. So look again. What do you see? What do you see when you go to the beach? A beautiful day, sunlight, you feel the sun on your face. But look again, what do you see? We see slate on the edge of our Cornish coastline laid down 250, 300 million years ago. And then a huge upwelling of granite pushed into the center of this peninsula here. It created Bodmin Moor and Exmoor. The landscape moved over with tectonic processes. And we kept creating these upwellings, these hills in the middle. They pushed up on the slate on the side. And instead of being horizontal, it pushed it up into angles. It created this pattern of beach and headlands. And we were there at that secret place, or secretish place, just on the way here. We just had to have a look, and Ruben Ash was out So when those waves come, that energy comes from days away. Think of the chance when we choose to ride a wave of all the things that have come together for that magic moment, and then interacts with the reef created by the slate just there, and then the board that's been given to us by someone else. And how were the waves this morning at that place?
Pretty good.
Too good for me. You could have ridden them, I couldn't. Okay, so education tells us to create an intent, to create a curriculum, a scheme of work, a program of experiences for our young people. At the WAVE project, we've got a very clear intent to improve well-being of young people through surfing the sea in a culture of acceptance. And the genesis of this work, we heard from Becky before, but also it came from Joe's observations from teachers he'd met who'd seen the impact of surf therapy on young people in schools. And there's a whole series of people who've come before me. So I think there was someone called Fiona Joe, and then Andrew, and then Svenja, and hopefully Svenja will watch this in the future, and I want to pay tribute to her work because all I've done is really build on what she's done. So I want to thank Svenja. Okay, so in our intent for education, we're trying to build social and academic resilience. I mean, how do we break that down? So I alluded to the search for meaning. So but first of all, it's the search in the individual themselves, and then it's to give them concepts and ideas and experiences that can help them go out into the world around them, to help try and ignite a sense of curiosity in the world and a sense of acceptance of who they are. So I'm sure you've heard before and from your own experiences how, and you know, the water dissolves, the water removes our stresses, our strains, it relaxes us, it brings us into the moment. And surf therapy provides a unique opportunity for education because it puts those young people in a calm and receptive mode. Without that calm and receptive mode, as an educator, I can't get through to them. I can't begin to try and put concepts and ideas into them that helps them. And Tariq, just tell us a little bit about, that was only a few weeks ago, and the journey that young person in terms of their water experience had taken.
So the young lady beside me in the water there, I met 4 weeks ago, and she couldn't swim. So before we even contemplate dealing with surfing, we need to give her some confidence and some skill set in the water. As you can see, that's pretty deep on me. That's my shoulders. That is her swimming next to me. And we've already done a lesson on the Aloha spirit with her classmates there. So those young men were actually out there being rescued and encouraging that young lady. It's a hard thing to really explain when you see a child who on week one doesn't want to be past her ankles, quite understandably because the sea's scary and everything's out of control, to getting quite a clean, groomed day down at Towan, and she's more than happy, and she's built enough trust in me by then to trust that I will take care of her if required. But we're constantly nurturing and encouraging her to say, you can achieve more than you think you can. And that was huge. And then yesterday was the last time we saw her. Thank you, Becky. The young lady put her mouth in the water with the encouragement of one of the lads there and blew the bubbles, which is now getting her used to getting her face in the water, not freaking out. Huge steps in such a short space, but very much built on nurturing and building on the trust process.
So this young man, our client here, was my first client in a program called Surf Back to School, which I'll come back to. So there's Tariq, me, and a teaching assistant, 3 adults with a lot of life experience, a lot of professional experience working with this young man. And I want to use this as a case study to show how surf therapy opens up education. So I went to visit him. He's 8 years old in an alternative provision school in Cornwall. And it's one of those schools which has got gates on the outside and lots of doors that you have to get through to keep getting through. So eventually, after going through 5 or 6 locked gates, witnessing some distressed children, I end up in this young man's classroom. There's 3 adults with him, including the head teacher. And, you know, he's only just arrived in the school. And, you know, they're concerned about him. You know, he is not interacting well with other young people. he is hitting, and he is in panic mode completely all of the time. In fact, they were so concerned, they asked me, was I team teach trained? That's something I hate to do, which is knowing how to restrain a young person. Something I've only had to do a few times in my career. I always think it's a failure if you've got to that point, because you should be able to talk a child round, but it does happen. So I said yes, but that first meeting was about getting to know him. And they told me lots about him as well. They couldn't work him out. They thought possible autism, multiple personalities. They told me that he made stuff up about the world around him, and they couldn't unpick him at all. But what they did know is that he was distressed, and they wanted some help for him. So I went in there with a hand plane and got down beneath him, lots of eye contact, which he found difficult, maybe possible autism, not surprising in that sense, but he was really interested in the hand plane, and we began a little conversation about that. And he was still really unsure whether he wanted to do surf back to school. And at the end of it, he just said to me, because we talked about wiping out, and that's how we learn, and like, let's try and have fun when we wipe out. And he just said, "Are you going to be there when I wipe out?" And I said, "Yeah, every time, buddy, every time I'll be there." So he came, and it was this long process. So we do 6 sessions, in the first session, in the middle there, he's overwhelmed by the sensory experience of the water in his eyes and the salt in his eyes, and you will have experienced that as practitioners. And he really didn't want to go in, and that's as far really as he got. And then in the water as well, he was clinging to Tark and me. He wouldn't let us go. And it was literally, we were like, no, open your eyes, put your feet down, you're okay. This whole first session was just purely about trust building and protection for him. And he had to know we were there. And then again, just enjoying the sensory experiencing, getting right down next to him, being rolled in the waves. So gradually over the sessions, he let go of us physically. And then I was very lucky to have Tark's expertise, because this is my first client, and he's getting swept away by some of the waves. So he went from holding our hands, and then we began to let him be swept away. And we began to just tell him to put his feet down, but we were always there every time he came up. And we did the shakas every time he comes up. So shakas away, even when he was frightened. And we were trying to replace that fear and that sensory overwhelm with relaxation and so on. Another experience with him, I think it was our second session on the right there. It's the top of the hill at Fistral coming back. He wanted to eat the beach. I mean, he did eat the beach. 5-10 minutes of eating the beach.
Quite literally.
Yeah, it was tricky. It's really tricky. But he spat it out, gave him lots of water, so we handled all the safety side of it. But he didn't want to move. And again, it's the sensory experience of being there. Now, this young man tested our absolute boundaries. Every time we gave an instruction, he ignored it. He did the opposite. It was like demand avoidance the whole way. I mean, how did you find him, Tark?
He's probably one of the most challenging experiences I've had in the WAVE project. It was very fantastic learning curve, but for sure, that young man really had an issue to build a relationship with anyone, in my opinion. And I feel like the thing that really got us where we needed to get with him was just pure consistency, because I would personally say for 5 of the 6 weeks, it was constant boundary pushing. It never stopped. You had to reset the line and reset the line and reset the line, which is not necessarily my favourite way of handling the situation, but I've had experience in care where you do positive behaviour support, so disengage to bad behaviours and really big up the good behaviours, and that's kind of how we did it. Just pure consistency on the lines, drawing the lines in the sand, and how we want to run the session, what's safe, what's acceptable, and just re-explaining over and over.
Yeah, but I mean, he hit us, spat at us, refused to do what we say. It was really challenging, but we used the water and water safety to draw the boundaries of what was acceptable, and he needed to push against them in one sense. What we learned later from some of the adults who worked with him was that he lost all his male role models. They were in prison. He had a mum, but they felt there was emotional neglect going on there, and what we begun to guess at was that maybe, or the make-believe world, maybe, I'm not a psychologist, was him trying to make up the worlds he wanted to live in, because he kept saying things like, I've got 5 pets at home, you know, I've got 5 brothers and I'm going out later with all my friends. But his reality was this room that he was in playing PlayStation and whatever all the time. So he really tested us, and each time at the end of a session, we'd try and work out what went well there with him as well. And we put him in the driving seat. What have we done well? Lots of reflection. And what can we do better next time? And we began to put him in charge of the small steps that we wanted him to take. Do you remember the end when he said goodbye?
Yeah, very, very heart-touching, very poignant. You'll bring me to tears again. He did. He reduced us both to tears, I promise you that.
So we're sat there, we're just not knowing if we've made any impact at all on this young man. And on the last session, we said, okay, aloha then, you know, goodbye, because we've done the aloha spirit. Aloha, bye, buddy. Okay. And we just looked at each other. And then he looked at us both, and he's looking at us, really looking at us. About 20 seconds passed, then he got up, and he came to each of us, and he gave us a big hug and said, thank you. Yeah. He's now, I've been back to see him in the school. He's now integrated. He works in a classroom now with other young people. There's been no more team teach, no more having to restrain him. He's beginning to make relationships, and he's making progress. So it was, that showed me the power of the water and the surf therapy approach, and enabling me as an educator to try and give him some concepts by which to live his life. So I want to talk about those now.
Can I just add something quickly there?
Sure.
I think one standout for me with that young man as well in the end was a lot of the physical aggression, upon reflection in hindsight, seemed like he missed contact, physical contact. And when we came to the end, and that was then delivered as a really, I want to hug you, I want to tell you how much I'm going to miss this, was, yeah, that's why it reduced me to tears, because it was, you know, the whole penny dropped, and you could see, wow, it's all clicked, it's all just gone in. Took 6 weeks, and right in the last minute, just as he was about to walk out the door, then we saw the fruition of the whole thing, and we were just like, wow, that's a really big one.
Nice to add, Tark. Yeah, he also, it's literally because, do you remember when he walked out, he then put his mask back on. I went, yeah, I'm off to see my brothers again, bye. Back to make-believe world, but he let us in there for a second. Again, I paid tribute to Svenja. So Svenja took the work that she inherited from Andrew, and some really great lessons there. And she really professionalized the scheme of work that we've got. And she was inspired by trauma-informed schools approach, which we use in the UK a lot. So trauma-informed schools about, if you look at the central picture there, is about 4 words really. It's about protection, relating, reflecting, and regulating. So of course the water itself provides the ability to regulate. It calms the young person down and provides breathing. Within our work in terms of relationship, it's being there every time when they wipe out, the eye contact all the time. So the numbers that we've got in beach school and surf back to school are critical, so that we can form that relationship with them, both in our boardroom classroom and outside classroom and in the sea. So we need the ability to relate, but that's also relating concepts, which I'll come to in a minute. The protection, again, you know, we're forced to trust us because they're in the water, and many of them are non-swimmers as well. We use a lot of circle time as well in our work, both at the start of sessions, during the sessions, and at the end of sessions. And the beauty of a circle is that everyone's equal in that circle. And you don't have to speak, you know, because that's challenging for young people in the panic zone. But we go round the circle and we allow them to reflect on what's gone well or the ideas we've looked at today. And a huge part of what we do, and if we've got any adults from the school and teachers, and we encourage them to do the same, is we're modeling. We're modeling emotionally available adults, and we're modeling that we're there for them and that we're confident in our emotions, where we can express our own fear, we can express our own feelings. So we're trying to model that for them. And then gradually, as they get used to that process, they become more confident if we're in a group to speak and to begin to let out their own reflections. And again, we encourage them to recognize each other in this process. And for example, through the Aloha spirit. So who's done well today? Who showed kindness? So we use a lot of that. We're trying to get, and the water does this, we're trying to get them out of that fear and panic and rage zone. And a huge part of Svenja's work was putting into all the lessons seeking, care, and play. So we provide the care and the nurture, they provide it to each other, but almost all the lessons have a seeking element and a play element in them. And we teach from 8 to 16, and it works through all the age ranges as well. So going and seeking, being pulled out of yourself by those beautiful environments that we've got on our coast is really, really important. And then finally, our approach in the water and in the learning as well is just to keep them on the boundary of the comfort zone, and sometimes called the stretch zone or the growth zone. We've got to do everything to keep them out of the panic zone. And some of our kids, we're watching them all the time because they're so in that from the rest of their life. We've got to get them back into the comfort zone. And as practitioners, you know all about, small steps and just letting them take the next step when they're ready and not pushing them too hard, but we do push. We do challenge them. We try and give them guided choices. They've got to take a step forward when they're ready. Okay, so 2 programs we've got Beach School, which is for 8 to 16, and it's groups of 8, mainly from mainstream schools. And the common pattern at the moment is teachers worried about year 5 pupils in primary who are about to go to year 6, which is a heavily based curriculum, and they're really worried the kids can't cope with that. And the common theme they're looking for is nurture. They want their kids' well-being boosted, particularly after the pandemic. A huge number of what I call locked-in families who, for example, live in the middle of Cornwall and have very rarely travelled out of their estate or out of their bedrooms, or they just go from bedroom to school, home, perhaps their road. And these locked-in communities are lacking an awareness of the world around them. Many of them can't swim, A, because of the pandemic, stopped swimming lessons, but B, also just that lack of aspiration in the family. So the common theme for them is they are nowhere near where they should be. There's a variety of lessons there. All our lessons are linked to the UK national curriculum. And we use lots of different lessons from art to maths, science, and English throughout the course. There's 2 things I observed when I took this work on. First of all, the lessons were brilliant from Svenja. But the next thing that I learned from teaching that first client was, for me, what was missing was the importance of a narrative, okay, in the delivery. That we needed to really good scheme of work. If you're offering a program to young people, you must have a clear intent. Then you must think how you're going to implement it, and you need a narrative. A narrative is what connects it. So we've got the narrative of the waves and the surfing as that experience. But then the other 2 narratives, the first one is that I started with waves. Waves are a form of energy, okay? But ideas are a form of energy that we pass on, and our feelings are too. When we get in the water, we select a wave. We don't take every wave, it can end disastrously. The skill of the surfer is to choose a wave. So we can choose to ride waves, we can choose to let them go. And it's the same with ideas. We can listen to other people's ideas, we can learn from them, we can let them go. To be educated means to have a variety of concepts that gives us meaning in the world. And then for so many of these young people, the barriers, the overwhelm, and the feelings. But in the water, we teach them to cope with fear. We teach them to cope with panic. How do you do that, Tariq? Think of those kids facing a big set, the guy today or last week when they're facing a huge set coming towards them.
Well, the lesson we gave the young man this morning was something I saw in a movie not so long ago, and it was that some of the world's most famous and best surfers, Kelly and his crew, had a friend at Pipeline who used to say to him, if you are paddling out and you see like 3 times your height whitewater crash in front of you and it's going to come and take you, you should stand there and laugh. You tell that to a kid as well, they look at you a bit like, whoa, there may be an issue with you, buddy. Then you explain, when you're scared, we're all super tight and that's going to push our oxygen out and we've actually got a wrong posture. Whereas when you're laughing and you're all relaxed, actually, you're going to be able to hold that air in your lungs. And it's the RNLI's message, it's like any water safety message is, stay calm, stay relaxed, hold on to your breath, let that wave do what it's going to do. The energy will pass, you'll come back to a serene, calm time. And that's a bit like a narrative again, isn't it? Because...
Yeah, absolutely. We're choosing to let go of a feeling. So let go of that energy, that negative energy. We're choosing to replace the fear when we pop up with a shaka with positive energy. So we're choosing to let that go. So the narrative of connecting ideas, feelings, and thoughts runs through the course. So does the Aloha spirit. What Svenja also did, she thought very carefully about her lessons, is that she introduced a rich theme of surf culture into those lessons. And going back to the Polynesians and the Aloha spirit. And we teach a whole lesson on Aloha. And Aloha is more than hello and goodbye. It's a connection to the waves. It can mean divine breath. It can mean to respect the environment around us. What is it that we as surfers can offer uniquely? We have a unique perspective for our waves and our coastal environments. We love them. We need to nurture them and look after them. We need to respect each other and our equipment in the water. We need to share stoke wherever we go. And that's the perspective we've got, and it's a really powerful, powerful lesson. Okay, so just going to show you a few more ideas that we've got when we do it. And I really love this lesson. The quote is from a Cornish beach artist who uses rakes to create art. And we've got a couple of students there who have created some art on the beach. So there ain't no wrong because there ain't no right. So we go play first. We play with our ideas. We play with the material. And sometimes we even throw it around, but not at each other. And we just get comfortable. And then we get that feeling of making and creating something, the textures, the senses. And then we go for it. Now, as a teacher, you know you've got a great lesson when you can walk away and they carry on doing it. And this lesson always does that. You know, you can literally, we just sit there and go, wow, what they're doing. But again, there's something really Buddhist in this that's back to the narrative of making waves. You create bliss, you play. I've done that. I feel proud of that. And you do it in front of the tide, in front of the waves. And what happens next? The waves come and they wash it away. So in that act, we're teaching the young people again, you can create positivity, you can create stoke. It's going to go because everything changes. But you can go back to that place if you choose to, because it's ideas and thoughts and feelings. So they're experiencing the narrative and the design of the course in that. Remember this young man? We've still got him. Okay, so in this one, the seeking element. Okay, so it's called rock orienteering. And the seeking element is to get some stones, so we named them. I think we had Nigel, hedgehog, an elephant. And then we went and hid them on the beach. And we used a map down there to locate them. So again, same thing we're experiencing. So we're going to go and hide an object. We've hid feelings. We've let feelings come and go. But now we're hiding objects as well. And then we can find them again. And sometimes we don't because he had amazing map skills, but sometimes you don't find them. So we go and seek, and that's play. And that, again, is opening us up. And then after that, it leads to a moment. And again, it's the combination of lessons that we select for each young person. So in Surf Back to School, it's very intense. There's 2 or even 3 adults with 1 young person. And I can really tailor the learning experience to that young person's interests and needs from the lessons that I've got. So having done that, we talked about feelings because he'd understood that in the previous lessons. He was ready for this. So we said, okay, well, like waves, which feelings do we want to keep and which feelings do we want to let go of? And again, we modelled it. Mine was I want to let go of fear in my own life and stoke. You want to share yours? If you can read it.
I wanted to get rid of frustration and I wanted to embrace being true to myself.
And then we said, what about you, buddy? What do you want to do? And he thought about it really deeply. And this is amazing for an autistic young person. And he said, I want to let go of sadness. So we wrote it on the stone for him. And then we said, and he chose to tell us a story, which we won't go into for personal reasons, his reasons. And then he chose to write rest in peace was the feeling he wanted to keep. So we went down to the sea. We'd done beach art before, throwing in, letting go, releasing, remembering. And we said, what do you want to do? I knew what I wanted him to do, but I thought he should create this ritual for himself. And he said, yeah, I want to throw sadness away. I want to throw it away. So we threw it away and then whoop, whoop, replaced that with some positive energy. And we all did that. It was beautiful. And then he threw, rest in peace. You wanted to keep yours. That's fine. But he chose to throw his away. And he said, why are you throwing it in the ocean? You were like, no, keep it. And he's like, no, I'm throwing it in the ocean because every time I jump in the ocean, I'm going to remember that feeling that I want to see. So I guess, you know, the eternal question for any charity and educators is, you know, how do we measure impact? The simple way is that young man in the middle, the smile. And when you're working with young people intensely, sometimes, like our first client, it takes 6 lessons before you see a smile. And sometimes you don't even see it. And sometimes you have a breakthrough moment with a young person and you get to see that smile. And that's the biggest way. It's that observation, the interaction we see on the beach. So we also do a questionnaire before and after, and we collect observations from the teachers and the parents and so on. And yeah, our results are showing a huge growth in confidence, self-confidence. So, you know, surf therapy offers the opportunity to calm young people's minds, and for us as an educator to create a narrative, a journey that we take them on, to share a spirit, aloha spirit, and to give them concepts which help build up their self-worth. So if I have something to offer as an educator, surf therapy, it is, please think clearly about your intent, think clearly about your implementation, and ask yourself, who's running your narrative? Are you letting the young people create that by themselves, meaning, because that can happen through experiences, or do you want to guide that narrative through a guided discovery? So that's all I want to say. Thank you very much. We're going to go to Joe now. Yeah, we're going to go to Joe. Yeah. So I'm going to hand over to...
Just to say. Okay. Thank you, guys. That was amazing. Just like to point out that I was only actually asked Jason to put this together about a week ago. It was all a bit last minute, so and he's done that whilst also delivering a program. So excellent. I'm quite blown away because it's like, without realising, you've actually touched on quite a lot of the themes that we've been raising throughout the conference without being here. Yeah, which is so well done.
Gold star, please. Gold star.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Might even buy you a milkshake, you guys. So hard to follow that, but I just want to talk to you guys very briefly about our actual physical building that we are hoping to build, because one of the challenges we've had with this beach school program, fantastic program though it is, great work by the guys here, by Svenja as well, who's designed some of the curriculum, and Andrew Reap, who was, I said predeceased then, that's the wrong word, isn't he? Who came before Svenja as a beach school teacher. So there's been a series of different people who've contributed to this curriculum, but we've always had a challenge of how we deliver it, because as delivering, as we kind of touched upon this a little bit with the rest of the conference, but delivering this kind of work with very vulnerable children, you know, especially trying to do it all year round in the kind of weather we get in the UK, is very difficult, challenging. It can be very cold. It can be the weather can be really bad. Beaches can get closed and so on. So I've been involved actually for the past 4 or 5 years in trying to develop this project. This is it. We've put in a planning application for this. It's down near Wood and Tariq in Cornwall. It's not, I'm afraid, Jason's put like 18 slides together, and I couldn't even really do one very well. But you can't see this that well. But essentially, what this is a 2.5 acre site. It's about half a mile from the beach. Actually, it's a good sort of 15 minute walk from the beach. But you can see the sea from it. But what we're hoping to do, in order to enable the kind of activities and lessons that Jason and Tariq were just describing, but within a controlled site, is we hope to build our own beach. This is what this site is here, this kind of western perimeter of the field. You can't really see it very well from that slide, but that long list of things there in the box is different grasses and different like environmental things that they're going to be planting in this site to make it just like the dunescape at Town Beach, Gwyddian Sands, Gwyddian Towns even. And that will enable us to do some of these activities like the one with the rocks and some of the sensory activities that we're doing, but in a contained site, because beaches are obviously, the risk is that they're not controlled areas. And I would love to have, if I'd had a bit more time to pull this together, I would have loved to have shown you a few more slides on this, but essentially this area here is, I'm not quite sure how this is being picked up digitally, but I'm pointing to this sort of box-shaped object on the right-hand side of the picture. That's actually the beach school itself. And what we've aimed for here is for everything to be delivered outside. So the entrance is here through this. This is like the car park here, and you kind of go in, and then there's no corridors in this beach school. This is all an outdoor area. There are some buildings. There's some classrooms at the back here. It's like a grass roof at the top, but the door's open so that the children have always got that sense of being outside, because we've learned over the years of delivering beach school how important it is to work with them in the outdoor environment. And there's this sort of central courtyard, so they can kind of flow in and out of the indoor and outdoor area, and they always feel like they're outside, but we get the protection from the wind and the rain. This is a kind of covered sort of walkway here that they can kind of walk around. This is I remember my story about Lenny that I described to you on the first day of the conference, and like Jason, you know, the unfortunate experience of seeing him in this alternative provision school with lots of locked doors. There's no locked doors here. There's one. There's a locked door here when you go in, but the rest of the site is open. They can walk around anywhere there. This little, you probably can't really see it, but there's a little round thing there, which is a hot tub, which they can get into if they get cold. And this bit here on the far right-hand side of the drawing is like the changing rooms and the showers. So there's a sort of a flow. They can get changed in the site. They stay in the site. They can go anywhere they want in the site. The teaching can be done outside or indoors with the doors open. And then the rest of the site, this back bit here, you can access through this gate. There's activities. When we were designing this, Svenja, who's our education manager, who's on maternity leave at the moment, inputted quite a lot into the design of the site. And she's got this game with a parachute. Did you play this one? Yeah. You play the parachute game. She gets the kids running around with this parachute. She's very keen to design this secure garden area here, big enough to be able to do her parachute game. So it's all designed around this parachute game that Svenja's done. But they can do, so there's a sort of an outdoor field where they can go here. This isn't the beach field, this is just more of an outdoor area with like paths and stuff around it. These are solar panels here because we want it to be sustainable. And that's like underneath there's a big like compost waste area. And then here is the sort of beach. It will be an actual real beach, but within a school. And so we're calling it, the program is called Beach School. This will be a beach school in the sense that it's a beach and a school together. You get that? Clever, eh? And then this is the kind of artist's impression of what the front entrance would look like. There's like obviously children going in. So the architects have tried to kind of capture this idea of like a sort of like a wave shape. So yeah, so this has taken like nearly 5 years to get to this point, believe it or not. These things move incredibly slowly, painfully slowly. But we've finally, actually only about a week ago, put in our planning application to Cornwall Council. It's now sitting somewhere in the Cornwall Council's planning application system waiting to be looked at, and then we're hoping that they will think favourably of this project. I'm getting. Do I need to finish? Oh, okay. Yeah. So, and the hope is that we can bring all of this great work that Jason, Tariq, Svenja, and others are doing onto a site here in Cornwall, and yeah, be able to support children like the young lad you supported, like Lenny, like Brian, and some of these other children we've met this week out of, you know, poor quality alternative provision into a much better setting. That is the end. So
it's amazing, so exciting to see and hear all about Beach School. I can't wait to be able to walk in that building, hopefully one day soon. Fingers crossed. We've got a question on Hoover, and then I'm happy to throw it out to the room. Oh, in fact, we've got a couple of questions. In your opinion, what kind of research would best support further normalising the use of surf therapy within education settings? Who fancies answering that?
I'll have a go. You can hold out to speak in here. That's a deep question. Ask yourself why we need research and impact, because we're trying to convince the decision makers. I think that, well, first of all, what we found is that both with Sonia and myself, once schools do commit to Beach School and they see the impact, they keep coming back, so they see the impact. We do always need impact evidence, and we do need research, because one of the things I've noted is that sometimes I'm getting, through our marketing and our research that we get out there, I get SENCOs in schools, they're the people who look after special educational needs, and look at mental health issues or autism or whatever in schools, and the pastoral leads, often deputies in secondary schools. So they know of our work, and they're a fan of it. And sometimes they've invited us into school, they want to commit, they say yes, and then it goes up the chain, up the academy system, and then it's blocked. And it's often blocked by people who don't know the impact of the work and haven't come across it, and they're looking at a figure which is actually incredibly reasonable, and they're thinking, I don't think that's a good investment. I think they're very wrong, obviously. So we do need evidence. So, I mean, it's a difficult thing to evidence, okay? Because what changes a young person's life, we struggle with this as teachers in schools, it's multifactorial. Yeah, what causes the issue is multifactorial, you know, from family background, adverse childhood experiences, rapid changeover of staff, you know, turbulent school environment. All these things can create an issue for a young person. So it's hard to put your finger on the cause when we're looking at the therapy side and calming side. But it's also, you know, it is hard, and you can never completely prove, you know, can't do a double-blind experiment with surf therapy. It just doesn't work because, you know, you've got all the other factors in school, the teaching. So what we've come up with is a combination. So we've got our questionnaire, which is looking at their self-concept, their self-concept, their emotional resilience, their social well-being, and their views of the impact it's made on themselves for their own learning. And then we also collect anecdotal evidence from the parents, the teachers, and so on. We've looked at other systems, you know, can we see an impact on grades? But it's too multifactorial, you can't do that. So I think somewhere of what we've got that we both use in surf therapy and what we're using in the education programs, we're probably in the right area. It's hard. What the next stage is actually getting our voices and our research in front of those decision makers. That's what I see as the barrier. You know, how can I speak to more of the business managers, more of the head teachers who are the commissioners of the work? How could we even get them to come and see it? That's the key issue, I think, and to keep collecting the evidence we've got.
Thanks, Jason. I've got one more question on Hoover. Have you any experience with children who maybe who have had a bad experience around the water, and how do you handle it? I once worked in a swim course with a kid who experienced falling into a pond as a non-swimmer.
Yeah, I had a fair few experiences, to be fair. I once had a child who witnessed a great white shark eat someone from that distance away. And I remember reading that risk assessment and thinking, oh my God, how am I going to make her have some confidence again? And again, for me personally, a couple of the things that I have evolved to learn over the years I've worked with the WAVE project are really clear things. That surf therapy is about nature, sensory stimulation and growth that way, and that actually standing on a surfboard isn't the be all and end all. And that's really, really important to remember. That's massive to what I've learned. More importantly is gaining the trust of someone by setting out your system. So I have 3 rules for teaching. There's nothing in the world you can't do, but you can't do anything if you don't believe in it. I don't believe in the words I can't, I believe in how can I. I remember the person who taught me that, it annoyed me for ages, but he's right. And why do people go to the beach? And it's to have fun. So with that young lady, we put those 3 rules in front of her. We made her the boss. I made that very clear to her that I'm working within her parameters. We walk into her happy space in the sea. So that could be ankle deep, it could be knee deep. And then as I have them for 6 weeks, I just challenge them, can we take 1 step? Because over 6 weeks, that gets you to the back of the room. And when you can visually show that to somebody, that progression, so they don't realise as the baby steps are happening, how much the progress is. But once you get to the end of that and you show them, listen, you know, I literally had this yesterday with a young man. He didn't want to be past knee deep. Once we were engaged in games and play and seeking, I had to say to him, do you realise the water's up past your waist? And he's going, yes, like he's so happy with himself. And again, it's about just building that relationship, making them realise that there's some really simple ideas and rules that are well within their grasp and control, and empowering them to lead you and to slightly challenge it in a really, really non-aggressive, like in a really calm, sensible way that is very measurable and not too much to ask for.
Just briefly add to that, I mean, what we spot, because we had a curriculum for surfing, you know, all surf schools do, you know, Cobra, chicken legs, whatever. But what we realised is you needed a pre-course, and what you added with your life-saving experience is how do we make them feel comfortable in the water first. And so we talked about play, and you can see in the pictures here, we're playing at rescue. We're getting them to rescue us in the water. And that young man, I said, let's do a practice play, because the swell was quite big, even at Town, and powerful. And so I said, run to the beach. I'm going to go and pretend to do the hand rescue, because they did it on me. And he got so into it, he ran to the beach and got knocked over by the wave that was coming. Yeah. And then he really was. He was out of his comfort zone. He was panicking because he couldn't swim, and he'd just gone from knee to waist. He came up, I was close by, eye contact. Shackers, you all right? Yeah. I remembered what Tark said. Starfish.
Starfish, stay calm, laugh if you're in trouble, relax. So quite essentially, we're giving them tools of coping mechanisms, the same as everybody. You teach that to any child, any adult in surf lifesaving. They're literally the precursors. If you get people who are very, very scared in the ocean, who haven't got those tools, it's pretty obvious, you know, even going in a pool is scary, but a pool is predictable. So for a child being in the sea and then waves come and do crazy things and they don't understand the physics of it, you're just trying to equip them with the tools so that when something bad does happen, they can dust themselves down and kind of cope with the situation. We got one young man the other week. He's autistic. He's very, very clever, but maybe struggles to articulate a lot of feelings and stuff. And he is absolutely convinced that the coolest thing you can do in surfing is wipe out. And I mean it, he literally has a field day for 5 minutes. He's jumping up and down and shackering the whole beach after every wipe out now. That's his bit. But, you know, that's cool, because that means if he has a bad experience, he actually thinks it's fun.
Yeah.
Thanks, Tark. We've got time for one very quick question in the room, if anyone has one. Yep, Jess, I thought you might.
Hello. I particularly liked your references to Panksepp's emotional systems, by the way. I'm just interested in the logistics of it. So how long are they with you?
So both courses are 6 sessions, 1 day a week. Surf Back to School is 2.5 hours, deliberately a smaller time because those kids tend to be more in the panic mode when we get them, and they wouldn't cope with a longer period of time. And then the beach school is a 4-hour program. And again, that alludes back to what Joe was saying, the challenge in winter is keeping the beach school candidates warmer. For the 2.5 hour course, we can operate through winter, but it does push our envelope with beach school. We can do it, but it's tough if the conditions are bad.
And the Surf Back to School, is that the one where you have 2 or 3 adults with 1 child?
Yeah,
okay.
a minimum of 1-to-1, but it tends to be 2-to-2. So that's really intensive program and individualized on the young person.
And when you're in the new lovely building, will you be also going down to the beach?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Just checking.
It's all about the outdoor environment, but it gives us that extra option.
Thank you guys so much. Really appreciate it. Everyone give them a clap and a thank you. Now we have time for a special bit of birthday cake. There's a birthday in the room. Hannah, our researcher. So please wish her a happy birthday. Go and enjoy some cake. We have a short break, and I mean short. It's takeaway cake and tea today because we're the next session is coming in live from the US. We need to be on time for that, for them and the guys online. But grab cake and tea, and happy birthday, Hannah.